Hey there, if you missed the first half of chapter 2 in Philippians, let me give a quick recap of what was covered. In chapter 2, Paul gives another instruction. He already gave one in verse 27 of the previous chapter, and in verse 3 of chapter 2, he says, "Let nothing be done through selfish ambition or conceit, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem others better than himself. Let each of you look out not only for his own interest, but also for the interest of others." How incredible our lives would be if we took this home. If our lives were not as consumed with ourselves and what we want and how we want it, and we want it now. But if we were able to forget about ourselves and esteem others and their needs and what is important to them and how we can help them over ourselves. Think about the relationship between employee and employer if everyone had that attitude. Think about the relationship between a husband and a wife if they both had that attitude. They're thinking primarily about the other person. How different would this world be if that was the attitude of every person? To esteem others, to put them above yourself. Not to put yourself down, but to think about yourself less. That's his point. And if there was anyone who is the picture perfect example of thinking about others above themselves, it was Jesus. And in fact, in verse 5, that's what he says. "Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus." And he goes on and explains that Jesus, when he was in the form of God, did not consider it robbery or something to hold on to in some kind of competitive way to leave heaven and come here. He didn't come here begrudgingly. He came because he loved us. And he humbled himself in verse 8 of chapter 2 and became obedient to the point of death, even death of the cross, a shameful death. And what we've been saying all along, the book of Philippians, there's something that happens, but what is actually happening? Satan rejoices. The enemies of God rejoice. But what is actually happening at the cross? Verse 9, "Therefore God also has highly exalted him and given him the name which is above every name." When Jesus humbles himself and lifts you up and me up above himself, it is the ultimate glory that God gives to him. He came, died for us, and then God has raised him up, as it says, and given him the name which is above every name. Do I want to be exalted by God? Then I must humble myself and I must put others ahead of me. Hope that was a blessing to you today. Take care.